All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And tonight I want to kind of just bring to you a kind of an update upon what I've been doing. Um, some questions have been coming up lately about, where have I been? I haven't really been posting much on Facebook or social media. Every so often I'd update a video or, maybe one or two videos every so often. In the last week, I think I've done maybe three videos in the last week alone. So it's kind of interesting to see people curious, about where I've been. As you can see tonight, it's daddy son night. Mama's at work, so it's just me and little man. And so it's kind of fun to see what I've been up to. And I know a lot of people are curious. So I'm going to show you, okay? Right here, that's one, two, three, and a total of five, no, a total of six notebooks. All these journals, okay, right here, it's a three-ring binder, okay, and another one, okay. I've been doing a lot of studying and a lot of practicing. So I've been staying very, very busy outside of work. And it's interesting because I've also been doing a lot of reading and a lot of studying. Okay, that's a lot of books right there. But it's not the only type of books that I've been doing because I have a whole bag over here that's full of other books from various different religions, not just on necromancy alone, but I'm talking Haitian Budan, Pedro Mayumbi, Santeria, Quimbanda. I've been really getting back into Pedro Mayumbi, and I've really been delving really thickly into Haitian Budan. Okay, not just getting back into Santeria as well, but I'm talking just really heavily reading, studying, note taking, things that catch my attention that I really want to look into later, but also things that I'm really getting into and comparing between the African Caribbean traditions. So I've been a practitioner of Palo and Santeria for about 12 years now. So about 10, 12 years. So since I was initiated down in Tucson. So here I am, 2021. I'm getting back into Palo Mayumbi full time. I'm getting back into Santeria full time. But now, since last year, I have been getting into Haitian Budan. Haitian Udon is something that I've always wanted to get into, but never got a chance to do it until recently. And it's interesting to see how that actually came to transpire. I was studying Slavic witchcraft last year, and this was part of my studies as a necromancer. Over the last couple of years, I've been heavily influenced by necromancy. So I've really been delving headfirst into that. And it took me through it from Egyptian all the way up into Middle Eastern, up into European traditions. And it was funny how it just circled right back into the African Caribbean traditions. And I was surprised, and I've said this before, surprised heavily, I'm talking mind blown that Voodoo was actually practiced in Russia. So when I got into that, and I started going into the old gods, getting into Belobog and how should I say this, Chernobog. I really liked Chernobog's energy, and I liked his current. I liked working with Baba Yaga and um, a few others, from their folklore and their pantheon. But when I came across Haitian Budan in this tradition, I started delving into it. And I started getting the books, and I started, building an altar and a temple to Baron Simadi, and I called upon Diloa and I asked him, I said, which one of you would like to work with me? And I ended up being visited and approached by Papa Gedi. So I started working with Papa Gedi, and uh, the practice really took off from there. So since last fall, I've really been heavily influenced by Haitian Boudan, and over the last couple of months, I've really been delving into Santeria and Pedro Mayumbi again, not just heavily into black magic and painful sorcery, but mainly right there, necromancy. Any tradition that is associated with necromancy, I've been really delving into to help further my career as a necromancer. So this is something that is very, very fun. I really enjoy it. It is something that I connect to very, very well. And every so often, it actually helps getting back into traditional Satanism. Traditional Satanism was my first love, so to speak. I started out as a spiritual Satanist, went into theistic Satanism, and here I am now, after 32 years, a uh, traditional Satanist. And I went from there into necromancy, like I said. So, my journey and my repertoire is really growing. Okay. I've been doing phylacteries. I've been working with the clay and molding the clay, setting up totems and phylacteries, not just talismans and, how should I say this, amulets. But I've really been practicing with the painting aspects of it. Getting right back into that old fashioned hand painting. Love it. It's not like spray painting things on it or laying seals over it just to draw the seals so that it looks perfect. Now, I'm talking the old way of doing things, where you actually have to take the time to paint everything in by hand. Okay, really love it. It's very beneficial to get back into this aspect. So it is something that I think a lot of people should get back into, especially those practitioners. A lot of things today are more corrupt. They're more, how should I say this? They're more, you know, everybody's going one way, and it's like monkey see, monkey do. It's not many people are getting back into the old ways of doing things. I'm not talking the more modern, Wiccan aspects or the pagan processes from Gardnerian or exactly, the chemical mind, daily programming. It's it's just dogma that's been regurgitated over and over again since the 1970s, and nobody's really going back into the old ways. So when I got associated with the Massagera Cabal a couple of years back, and I dedicated myself to this tradition, I ended up going back into the old ways and delving into history, folklore, um, getting into just about every tradition that I can think of, and really start getting back into the old workings of alchemy. And I'm amazed at just seeing how much benefit it has taken place in my life. I've been applying it in my own life, here at the apartment, even at work. And I'm now being trained as management in my current job. So that I've had since, wow, I can't believe it's been 4 years already. So I mean, I've got all the top brass looking at me and looking to promote me from within. So guess what? I got transferred to the morning. It's a better standing point that will get me into the management program, but more so, I can begin my journey moving up into corporations as well. So that is an awesome thing, and I owe that to my patroness. I owe this to the blighted and the demons that I've worked with for 32 years. So, I mean, the practices that they've got me on right now, the things that I've been doing through my research, study, and practices, not just the experimentation, has really been beneficial across the board. So I wanted to give this update, kind of just show you, this is what happens when you apply yourself. Things will go your way. Okay. My better half, my son's mom, you know, she ended up going from a part-time job, okay, which used to be full-time, but she lost most of the clientele. And for a long time, she was just working with just one client as an at-home CNN. Well, guess what? She came to me. She asked me to open up avenues because she was applying to other locations, and she asked me what should I do? How should I go about doing this? And I went in and I communed with the spirits, my patroness, and I came out and I said, after about 3 days of doing this, I said, just apply, make yourself available, keep yourself fresh in the mind. The door is going to open. And she went out and she ended up getting a job over one city over. Technically, I see it as one city because it's only divided between a river. So you got Brewer and then you got Bangor. You Bangor on one side, Brewer on the other. So she now works in Brewer at when, let's just say when we first met, she was working for a place called Westgate, and it's a senior center. Okay, it's I guess you can call it a nursing home. Okay, well this is the Brewer Rehab. Okay, which is also a long-term living center. Okay, so now she's a full-time there. She's working for the boss that she loved working with when she was working for Westgate, back when she and I first met. So it's kind of funny to see how things have gone full circle and how the spirits are working in our lives. So, like I said, I mean, she's making about $16 an hour, and she's now a teacher. After just a few months, she is also now a teacher. She is training other CNAs, okay, that are coming in. So, and she's got tenure too, which is awesome because she's been a CNA now for 10 years. And it's really interesting to see just what these spirits are doing when they open the doors. Okay. And it's really cool because it's not just happening in her life, it's happening in mine as well. A lot of the drama, most of the those who were attacking are just gone. The spirits have literally eliminated our enemies. We still have a few, I still have a couple that are kind of hating, but they're more hate speech at this point with no avenues, just putting forth regurgitated materials that have been, put to death, proven lies and basically fallacies. So, I mean, they just don't want to learn. They're blind. So it's become more of an obsession at this point, you know. So it's, and it is, it's kind of funny to see how they're hating, but I'm succeeding. My family is succeeding and we're growing. And the spirits that I'm working with, and it's really funny because I really want to put this out there. She is a Baptist. Okay. She is flat out a Baptist. She grew up in the church. She doesn't like what I do, but she respects it. Okay. Since day one, when we got together and she moved in with me, I told her you can have free reign of the house, the apartment, just don't touch the occult stuff. And it's funny because she's literally, as a Baptist, she hasn't just respected that. She hasn't touched anything that I've had for seals and amulets and talismans that were hanging up, you know, but she's the first person that comes to me, a black magician, a dark sorcerer, and says, "Hey, can you make it warmer? Can you make it colder? You know, can you open up the doors for this or that? Can you do a reading and figure out how to get into this? Can you help me with my homework?" Well, guess what? She's the one that comes to me. You want some milk, buddy? Okay. Here you go. Make sure you close it, okay? Make sure it clicks. So to see just how far we've come in 5 years together. Good job, buddy. Good job. So to see how far we've come in just 5 years. She's in school. She's going to be graduating in September, not in September, but December of this year. She's passing her grades. You know, our family's growing. It's really prospering. It's literally, like I said, across the board benefits. Okay, it's awesome. So I wanted to really give you the update on this because not many people will come in and say, "Hey, through the rituals and the rites that we've been performing, guess what? This is what's going on. This is what the spirits are doing behind the scenes, but this is also what we're doing to make this stuff happen." You see, in sorcery, there are two applications. There's the physical and there's the spiritual. The spiritual is where you go to your spirits, your patrons, your patronesses, and you sit and you petition them for their aid to unlock those doors. Okay. And then while they're doing that, you've got to actually do the physical and put the work forth for yourself. Okay. The rest is just, the universe saying yay or nay. And it's interesting to see how that works. All right. So if you really want to do beneficial things, I would recommend getting into the old world. Get into the old applications. I'm talking alchemy. I'm talking necromancy, black magic, sorcery, getting into seals, and that's one of the applications I've really been doing lately. Is getting back into the old seals, the steves, the hieroglyphics. You know, the demonic ends and meditation, and it's really showing because of the fact that I'm more centered. I'm more calm. And that's because it's you're balanced. Okay, exactly. Men like gods. Welcome to the channel. And stuck in the deep. Welcome back. And my better half just set up a haircut appointment for us both, and unfortunately she couldn't get in, but I did. So, and my hair was a little bit long for work. They were going to start giving me one of those girly hats there, to put my hair in a ponytail. So I ended up going with the Kennel Reeves look, you know, where it's folded up, but the girl actually cut it a little shorter than what it should have been. But it's all good. I got fast growing hair, so yeah, it's well, my better half and I actually. That's actually a very good question. Men like gods. My better half wants him to be a Christian. She's taken him to church. He's literally just slept through the church. But when I'm in my altar room, he'll come in and he's just pointing everywhere. And he loves it, the energy. But we both agreed that what we're going to do is just let him grow up and be a kid. You know, we're in the process of putting together a library for him, and one of the things that I have that I want to do for him is to get him a well-established understanding of various different religions. Kind of like I have, and one of which is the JCI. I've got the Quran, I've got the Jewish Bible, I've got the mainstream JCI Bible, and I've got the Catholic Bible as well. So, and I've got several others, not just Satanism, not just necromancy, not just Satanism and all that other good stuff. But one of the things that we were talking about is we're going to get him all this stuff, but it's up to him if he chooses to follow in my footsteps or hers. Whatever he chooses, that's solely up to him because the path that he chooses will be his own. So for now, it's more or less about him just growing up and being a kid. You know, personally, if it was me, I would go with the bar mitzvah aspect. Wait until he's a teenager and then let him choose his own path. So that's the way I look at it. But like I said, for now, it's more about letting him just be a kid. That's the way she and I have agreed on, and it's something we both you know agreed fully on. It's just to let him do his thing. So yeah, well, there's only one problem with that. The chemical mind is I don't like. I've had my hair in a ponytail before. Not a big fan of it. It just feels weird to me. I used to have, years ago, about 10 years ago, I used to have extremely thick, long hair. I mean, I was just draped down over my shoulders. It was about halfway down my back. It was very, very thick. So it was like looking at, say, Interview with a Vampire. Tom Cruise, what's his name there, Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas, from Interview with a Vampire type look. It's one of those, those type of looks, the Strigoi aspect. And years ago, I was heavily into vampirism. It's actually where I started out. In gothcraft. So before I got into witchcraft and Satanism. So my hair used to be very, very thick and very, very long. So every so often I cut it down and just get a new style. And this time around, like I said, the girl and I were talking about what was going on at the Brewer Walmart. Because there was actually a standoff, armed standoff. And you don't see that very often here in Maine. So I mean, Maine is like the redneck, part of the U.S. So it was kind of funny because of the fact that it was an armed. You had like, what was it? There were three Brewer PD, one Holden PD, and an undercover. That as we were leaving, they had their guns drawn. It was a white pickup truck, one of those, the diesels with the Hemis, you know, and it had a trailer. It was connected to a camper, and they just surrounded it. Guns were drawn. I guess it was, from what I understand, there was just one guy that was sitting in there, and they were calling it a standoff with hostage. And it's like, how can it be a standoff in a hostage situation if it's just one guy and he's holding a gun in the truck itself? You know what I'm saying? So you people must have your facts wrong there. Okay. I think a lot of them were just blowing smoke out their asses who were recording it because they're at such a distance. But cops actually lie too, so you would never know until you see it in the actual paper. Okay, so yeah, she and I were sitting there talking about that, and my better half was actually showing her a photo of Keanu Reeves, his haircut, and she actually likes that look on me. So, and we are telling her, I have to have it up off the collar because I work in fast food. So I mean, normally I take about an inch off, but this was like more like 2 or 3 inches off the back. So it was like shit. It just was not a good. I don't think it came out good, but it looks more like a shaggy dog type thing. But that's just me. But she likes it, so I guess that's all that matters. That's what I get for being distracted. So, and not paying attention. It didn't help that I had my glasses off too, so she could actually work freely without getting into the glasses. So, you welcome men like gods. Same to you, men like gods. So yeah, what I would what there's actually a book, and it's by Brother Nero. Okay, and I'm going to recommend this book to you, men like gods. It's a purple book. You can find it on Amazon, and It's called Satanism, the Beginning. I want to say it's Satanism, the Beginning, and it's a purple book, and it's by Brother Nero. Okay, it's a book on Satanism. It talks a lot about um, raising a family as a Satanist, uh, challenges that you have to deal with. It was actually a very powerful and realistic book right up until the very end when it suddenly just it was like the intellect just dropped. But those of you who have actually written, essays and books will, you'll once you get to a certain spot, it's like, eh, not much to say after that. So you kind of get it. But I do recommend that book to you if you're interested in raising a family as a Satanist or as a Wiccan, a pagan, or any form of religious practice, because the fact that this book here will is very intelligent, it's very intellectual, thought provocative, and it really speaks on personal experience. And as somebody who's been there and done that, I lived in the Bible Belt. I've been under persecution. I've been hated most of my life because of my practice. I get, I get, you know, what others are going through. So in this case, I would highly recommend this book because it does go great with what we do. Okay, and it will definitely help you. Now, I do know it's called Satanism. I want to say it's called The Beginning or something like that, but it's a purple book and it's by Brother Nero. So you're welcome. So, but yeah, so I mean, I've been studying everything. I mean, I've even been hitting, the complete works. In the last week alone, I have read Works of Darkness and Baneful Sorcery, Baneful Magic. I've read these two chapters like twice in the last week alone, and it's really something that you want to pay attention to, and I do recommend them. Just those two alone. I can't speak for the other ones because, like I said, I'm still kind of processing the other books in this. I would recommend the Book of Azazel to you, but it's a very good, interesting book that has a lot of demonic themes in it and a lot of seals. But it's a personal journey through awakening. Okay, that one I actually did like. It was actually my first book by E.A. Quetting and How to Become a Living God. And then I bought Ipsimus and Evoking Eternity on top of that. But I ended up selling those books to a guy, I want to say from Missouri. I think he was from Missouri, I think, or Montana. Yeah, it was one of them. But because I had bought this book here, The Complete Works, and this one here has 8 books in one, 8 tomes in one. So it actually worked out great. And I've been slowly picking up others, two of which is The Necromancer by Kendall Connor, or Connor Kendall rather, and the other one was by Dante Abiel. And I got those two books, and I've also got a couple more from the Demonic Gatekeeper series, the Book of Belial and the Book of Abaddon. So, like I said, I'm slowly getting the individual books on those. But as I go along, because I've been really delving, like I said at the beginning, I've been really delving into study, practice, and religious worship. And like I said, I've been getting into Haitian voodoo a lot and bringing that right into play. And there was a couple books on Haitian voodoo that I ended up getting, and one was how to worship, the let me grab it real fast. It's right here. It was get out of these things real fast. Yeah, it was called Serving the Spirits, And it's called Sevis Loa, Vibrational Crossroad of Voodoo. And it's called Creating Ritual for the Spirits of Voodoo. And it's by Mambo Vei Zo Kamandi Lamentful. Okay, whereas this one here is by the same author as well. And then I've also got Haitian Voodoo by Mambo Chita Khan, and it looks like this. You know, these ones here were very, very instrumental, very insightful because I've really been delving heavily into spiritualism lately, and it's something that's really been benefiting me, and I know it will benefit you as well. It could, these two books really, you know, not the Haitian Voodoo one, but the purple one, but the other two. Serving the spirits of Voodoo, and the other one is very, very thought provocative. It was well written. They were well written, and within just the first chapter, I ended up writing about 6 pages of what it means. Just 6 pages. I kid you not. Within 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, it took me to write 6 pages on what it means to worship the spirit. What does it mean for spiritual worship? And how do you become a devotee? How do you become devotion, show devotion to a spirit? How do you worship a spirit? How do you serve a spirit? Okay, as a priest, as a minister, as just an ordinary practitioner that works with the spirits and the gods and the demons and the jinn. Not just Santa Morte or the Orisha, the Loa, even. How do you work with your ancestors? You know what I'm saying? These two books really help you understand that. And I thought they were very well written, really broken down perfectly. So I do recommend them. There's a book called The Red Book of Jinn. The Red Book of the Jinn. DJINN. And it's a red and white book. You can find it on Amazon and eBay, and it's called the Red Magic. Very, very good book. The only thing I didn't like about it is it worked with angels. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. I would also, if you really want to get in working with jinn, I would recommend S. Ben Cayenne's work because he actually works. What is it? See, what's the name of them? I've got all three. The Book of Thermiel. You have the Smokeless Flame, and then you have one other, and I can't remember that one's name offhand. But I would recommend his works to you, namely because of the fact that Espen is that's his area of expertise there, working with the Middle Eastern gods, the Jinn and the Nephilims and all that. A couple years back, about a year or two ago, I ended up contacting him and I asked him a couple of questions, and he ended up recommending some sources to me. So I ended up delving heavily into it, and I learned so much just from what he did. I ended up filling up a just a notebook. I ended up filling up a notebook just on the Nephilim and the Jinn, and it was the children of the gods. Seeing where Asmodeus came from, there was a couple of different aspects to Asmodeus. Seeing him as a man, a practitioner who became a jinn. And then you had the demon of wrath and lust, and then you see him as an angel, a fallen angel as well. So you had like three different aspects there. I thought it was pretty cool. And I mean, I went through the Quran, I went through the Book of Tobit, I went through a lot of the old texts, like the Jewish Haggadah, the Talmud, the Mishra, and several others that just blew my mind. And that all came from the sources that S. Ben Cayenne gave me. So I do recommend his works to you a lot. Okay. I'll have to look into those. Yeah, I'll look into those ones as well. I haven't read anything on them. So right there goes to show you you learn something new every day. So thanks, Midnight Gods, for those recommendations. You know, Chemical Mind and myself will definitely look into those. So yeah, I would highly recommend. Like I said, one of the next books that I forward to getting is called the complete work. The complete writings of S. Ben Cayenne. I really want to get that his complete writings because it's something that I found. I liked what he wrote so far, and I liked you know the sources that he gave me personally. So I want to get into those and see how did he come up with these formulations and how did he come up with his own brand of chaos magic. So I mean, and I guarantee it's right there in the complete writings. So I'm definitely going to get into that as well. So, but I'm going to get off here and I'm going to go spend some time with my boy and give him a snack before he goes to bed. But I wanted to jump on here real fast to kind of just show you what I've been doing. Okay. Really? Islamic occultist. Yeah, I know a couple from over that way, but I've never heard of these ones. So I'm definitely going to look into that. Namely because I am a big fan of the jinn. So the jinn, genie, the jinn, depending if you're going from Giza all the way up into the Middle East. So depending on which region. So with that said, have a good night. I want to thank Midnight Gods, um, Stuck in the Deep, and Chemical Mind. For jumping on here with me. So, all right. So, have a good night. And until next time, have a good night.